Good afternoon, everyone. It's the Right Rican, and today I'm going to talk about the problem. One of the problems with media is you have journalists disguised, you have activists disguised as journalists, and I'm going to call them journalvist because it's just. I mean, to say it's just a problem on one side, it's really the difference. Here's the difference. It's like, let's say you have like the Tucker Carlsons and the Sean Hannity's on the right that, yeah, they're they're activist journalists, or like I said, journalists on the right, but everybody knows it. There's no secret with it. So they're conservative because they're on Fox News. So you people assume that the people on the left are just straight up journalists. But no, when they're at, this is reporting the news. Let's say um, today, the vaccination people, the amount of people vaccinated increased from 60 to 65%. When the Biden administration goal was 75%. There you go. I just reported the news. Now the activists will go, well, you know, then well, let me just show you. Let me just show you. Let me go to my share screen here. And here you go. CNN's Don Lemonhead. The unvaccinated people shouldn't be allowed to participate in society. So this is where you go. This is the difference between saying you're a journalist and you're reporting the news when you're an activist reporting your opinion. And so this is the problem. This is what you get. This is what passes for news. And I'm trying to see. I want to get his exact quote here. You know what? Maybe we'll play a little bit real quick. Let's see. Obviously,
speaking the truth, you have to have leaders. The data will help. Be more. Yeah, of course. I said that is true, but also, I mean, in addition to, you got to have people start speaking the truth. You can't have them speaking out of both sides of their mouth saying, I trust the science and I'm doing this. I heard you had Jerome Adams on and he's saying, talking about some right-wing conservative propaganda hosts who are saying, oh yeah, no one really said get vaccine. They said, I believe in the science and it's up to you to get it. We can't have mealy-mouthed people like that. You have to be more direct, a more concerted effort to say get vaccinated because you're not just killing yourself. You're going to kill other.
You see what he's, like I said, you can see that, he's complaining about the activism on one side while himself pushing activism. Because the other people, here's the difference. Here, when it comes to the whole COVID vaccine stuff, you have people who are for freedom. It's a freedom of choice. This is the irony because, Democrats claim when it comes to abortion, they're the party of the pro-choice. But it's like, you're only the party of pro-choice when you agree with the choice. When it comes to guns, no, you're not pro-choice, you're pro-control. Now when it comes to the vaccine, you're not pro-choice, you're pro-control. You want to control you want to control that people are getting the vaccine. This doesn't work. You do get medical tyrannies. You had this in the early 1900s. This is what got Hitler crazy, was the whole eugenics movement. I mean, it happened here in this country too. We forced sterilized undesirables. What's this any different when what this guy's about to talk about now? Watch.
People. That's what you have to start telling people. You got to start telling people, if you don't get vaccinated, you can't come into this office or this place of business. If you don't get vaccinated, you can't come to work. If you don't get vaccinated, you can't come into this gym. If you don't get vaccinated, you can't get onto this airplane. It has nothing to do with freedom. It has nothing to do with liberty. You don't have the freedom and the liberty to put other people in jeopardy.
When you get in your car, you put people at jeopardy. You put yourself at jeopardy. When you go into a car, I could go and could drive to Walmart and nothing happened. But what if I go put on the radio? I could, what if I get a phone call? Get distracted. I could hit somebody. I could put somebody else in jeopardy. But I still have the freedom to drive. Yeah, we put laws against, let's say, against people driving while texting and stuff like that. But we don't have laws against, uh, you don't have laws against people having a cell phone in their car because that would be ridiculous. But here goes a guy. He's being an activist. He's not being a journalist, but he'll act like he's a journalist when he's not. Like I said, and if you look at this, like I talked about eugenics in the early part of the 19th century, it started here. The only thing that killed eugenics was Hitler because he put a bad name onto eugenics. But you hear what he's talking about. It's basically medical Jim Crow, saying that you can't go into a gym because you're not the right vaccination status, you're not the right race, you're not the right political party. This is, it's just tyranny. He's saying it's not about liberty and it's not about freedom. Bullshit. It is about freedom. I if look, I got vaccinated, but I'm not there like, oh, here's my card, I'm vaccinated. You don't see me wearing it. I don't talk about it because you know what? I don't care. I just did it because uh my wife had to get it. So I was like, I might as well get it. And that's my personal decision. But you know what? I don't want to force that to other people. Like, I'm not going to give it to my kids because at the end of the day, I'm 42. My kids are 13 and 4. I'm not going to give it to them because we don't know what the long-term effects are. We're essentially, whether they like it or not, I know they're going to, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but we're guinea pigs because this is a new vaccine. It's a new way of administering a vaccine. The mRNA vaccine it's a new vaccine. We don't know what the long-term effects are, and we won't know for, let's say, another 5 to 10 years at the very least. But it is what it is. But you don't see me going, oh well, unvaccinated people are no. If you know what, um, but that is gross what he's calling for here, and this is what you see.
You don't have that. You have to drive the speed limit. You have to obey the rules. Put some rules.
You have to drive the speed limit. Who drives the speed limit? Let's be realistic. Who really drives? The speed limit is to protect you from, let's say, you do a dangerous. Look, you're coming to a curve. They'll put a speed limit just so you can know, hey, you got to slow down. There's a curve. They'll put a sign. There's a curve ahead. They'll, for trucks, they'll tell them, lower their gear so like that they're not, for going down the hill, stuff like that. But what he's talking about, he's comparing, speed limits to not being free. It's like there's speed limits, but people still go faster than that. Um, so for 1 second, but yeah. So like I was saying about this with Don Lemonhead, you just, it's not, you're not calling, you're, you're, you're a tyrant. You're an authoritarian. You're not for freedom. Freedom is freedom. Yes, you do have a freedom to not be vaccinated. Yeah, you have a freedom to not follow the speed limit. Just because there's a speed limit doesn't mean people follow it. You're talking about, look at the guy next to him, Chris Cuomo, had had COVID, was supposed to be quarantining, but he wasn't. They caught him outside of his house. He got mad. He still denies it, but there's video of it and him, threatening the guy. So it's these people, these activists, these journalists, activists, journalists, they're on both sides, but there's only one side that people already, it's more obvious on one side than the other when people talk about who they call activists. Like I said, the left will always pick on Tucker Carlson, but you have Rachel Maddow, you have Joy Reid, you have Chris Cuomo, you have Dom Lemonhead here. So, anyways, I'm gonna let me
that will
let him
demand
finish.
that people get vaccinated. You can't just go around and say, well, look, it's my personal life, freedom, and my liberty. I want to go 150 miles an hour if I want to. Sure, you can. But you have to suffer the consequences for it. Whether you kill yourself or you get a citation and your driver's license gets taken away. You have to have certain rules in a society if we all are going to continue to live and keep each other alive. You cannot be that selfish and, quite frankly, that ignorant.
Yeah. Him is that the pot calling the kettle black. Yo, listen. Ignorance is you comparing this stuff and saying that it's not about freedom. Yes, it is. The government doesn't own us. The government can't tell us, oh, the government doesn't own us to tell us to what to put in our body. That's plain and simple. I'm going to show you some other. I'm going to show you some other stuff here on that some other quotes I saw from journalists on Twitter, just to show you the activism. This is how I came with the video. You can see like an hour before I filmed this video. If you're a journalist calling for or pushing policy positions, congrats. You're an activist disguised as a journalist. And here's what the person put. The anti-vaxxers have had their fun. They're now engaged in open incitement to murder. It's time for arrests, prosecutions, and serious jail time. It's like, really? And here's another one. I put, it's funny. It's like I said, 2 hours before that. I mean, an hour before that one. So 2 hours before I'm filming this video. They are not journalists. They are activists. Pro-choice, my ass. Like I said, when all this stuff was good. Look, listen, I read stuff, I watch videos, and then stuff stews in my head, and this is what I was thinking about when I was reading this. And so you could sometimes see my thought process when I'm talking about this. But here it goes. Congress should increase the income tax rate on taxpayers who are unvaccinated and who have no legitimate religious or medical reasons to be vaccinated to 99%. It's another so-called journalist. This all ends with vaccine passports. The longer it takes for policymakers to implement them, the more people will die and the longer it will take before responsible people can resume normal lives. When you're not reporting anymore, you're activists, and this is what goes on. This is why people, like I was talking about the other day with the lady who, she's like, oh, you're a conspiracy believing Republican, and I'm just there like, because I like Ted Cruz. And it's like, and when she told me, oh, well, I watch The Truth, I watch MSNBC and CNN, and I'm like, so that's why you're crazy. That's why, you watching left wing, especially MSNBC, which is far left, believing that that's news. It's, they're worse than Fox News because they pretend to be objective journalists when they are journalists. That's all they are. That's all you have on MSNBC. And here's the thing, why I say they're worse than Fox? Like, let's say they're worse than Fox News. Fox News will have lefties on. You had Juan Williams that was on there for years. They have a new person there. This week they had Geraldo. So they'll put people on there that disagree with them. You don't see that on MSNBC. They always get the yes people. You don't get the arguments with them because they don't stand up to it. They don't they don't stand up to the other side of the argument, so they don't want you to hear it. And that's why the journalists. They're only in it for one side. And like I said, you don't have to like Fox News. You don't have to like Republicans. Okay. Republicans could, a lot of Republicans are spineless. They don't do shit. Okay. Let's be real. But the Democrats, they cause a lot of your problems. Right now, they're the ones dividing this country. Right now, they've been doing it since the beginning of the pandemic. They used this pandemic to get rid of Trump, and when this is the irony, they were the ones they were the first ones questioning the vaccine. I mean, we could just do a simple Google search and go on YouTube and see Nancy Pelosi. You could see Andrew Cuomo, and you see Kamala Harris, and you see Joe Biden. You see all of them questioning it when Trump was president. And now they're like, oh, this vaccine is perfect. There's nothing wrong with this vaccine. But that's what that's what happened. They used the pandemic to gain power. Say what you want to say about Trump. Trump could have expanded his power during the emergency and didn't. But look what the Democrats are trying to do right now. Trying to mandate the vaccine. They're trying to, they want to do another mask mandate. They're probably going to want to do another lockdown. And what's going to happen? The media that people think that are objective, other than here's the whole thing, the irony. It's always the people on the left who go, oh, well, oh, you watch Fox News? Oh, I don't know why you watch Fox News. And it's like, I don't know why you don't watch Fox News. If you don't know what the other side is saying, then you're only getting half the story. Oh, well, I need to listen to the truth. What truth? There's two sides to every story. One side, what they say, your side, my side, and the truth. And if you're only listening to one side, you're not getting the truth. You're just getting one side. That's it. That's why people on the right watch. Well, one, all we have is Fox News. Yeah, there's OANN and Newsmax, but realistically, they're not everywhere. They're not in every region, in every cable provider. They're not always there. But you have CNN everywhere. You have MSNBC everywhere. You have ABC, NBC. They're all left-wing sources of media. They're not unbiased. Some of them have worse journalists than others. Like I said, you have the Joy Reids, you have the um, Rachel Maddows, you have Chris Cuomo, Don Lemon, uh, Anderson Cooper. You have those type of journalists on there, and once in a while they will do a good piece of journalism, because they have to balance it out. If they don't balance it out, then they'll always look bad. That's why you have some of those people who will try to balance it out so they can make themselves look legitimate when they're not. So, anyways, I'm gonna leave it there. Just be aware of these journalists, because if you're not, you're you're only getting one side of the news. And I know I'm preaching to the choir when I speak to people on the right. It's your friends on the left, my friends on the left. You can't give up on them, because if not, you get these crazy policies. You get these crazy. You get people who think, MSNBC is, straight down the line, middle of the road, when they're not. So just share it with share the video with your friends on the left. You're like, look, especially if you're, you know, one of the things is like, you have a lot of white people, and sorry, I'm gonna pick on you white people, but you guys are afraid to speak up because you're afraid of being labeled a racist or whatnot. Share my videos with your white friends. Let them know, hey, look, listen, you have this Latino, there's blacks that you could share their videos that are on the same side of the aisle as me, and share the videos. Look, listen, this is coming from people on, that were former Democrats that go, hey, look, uh, it's hard to leave that plantation. They indoctrinate you. From New York City, they indoctrinate you with these beliefs. If you don't, if you don't have an open mind, by the time you're in your your teens, your upper teens and 20s, you're pretty much not gonna. It's gonna be so hard to get out of that plantation. I you know I just open. I have always had an open mind. I always question stuff. So, but anyways, like I said, I'm gonna leave it there. I'm the Right Rican. I post these videos on YouTube and Rumble. You could interact with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, and Telegram. That being said, have a great weekend, everyone.